Over 100 government agencies are required by law to pay rent. The checks they write help create an $11.1 billion pool of money. And thanks to select private companies, it's very easy to become a part of it. And he'll show you how to get on that distribution list. You could be cashing checks of $1,795 a month starting next month. And those checks can grow by 2 times, 5 times, or even more over time. Please visit www.thefederalmillionaire.com and watch the free video to see how Dr. Barton and hundreds of thousands of other United States citizens are paying their bills with federal rent checks. Good evening, everyone. You're listening to Red Pill 78. I am the Corruption Detector, and this is your Red Pill News for a special Memorial Day 2019 edition. And I'd like to remind everyone today, on this sacred day for our nation, that freedom isn't free. Remember, always remember, in the immortal words of Ronald Reagan, freedom isn't free, and America is the last to stand on earth. Now, I want you to take a look at this amazing photo over here. It is a photo of 18,000 men preparing for war during World War I at Camp Dodge in Des Moines, Iowa. A gift from our grandfathers. Let's take a closer look. Look at that. Young men about to ship off to defend our nation and the lives of others in other nations. Titled Human Statue of Liberty, this image was taken at Camp Dodge in Iowa and used 18,000 men. Incredible. Incredible. It just makes you think, what is possible when we work together, when we have a common goal? First of all, here today I have a thread of some information I put together from 8chan, hat tip, big hat tip to methods for sending this on over. And once again, happy Memorial Day, titled this The Age of Enlightenment. On May 25th, 2019, real Donald Trump tweeted about the Age of Enlightenment. In our favorite Anon, post 144, we were given the phrase New Age of Enlightenment, along with the following bracketed letters: THISWEEK, this week. Now, could post number 144, could that refer to the 144,000 of Luke's little flock? Let's take a closer look at this proof right here. Enlightenment right there in President Trump's tweet, and then Age of Enlightenment right here. Age of Enlightenment, Age of Enlightenment, and then all of those bracketed letters spelling this week. This week. Now, also, 144 can bring us to this word in the BibleHub.com entry, aestheus, a feminine noun, probably the brand of sense discernment, which cuts through hazy ethical or moral matters to really size things up. It was used in Philippians 1:9. And I just stated that using discernment lately, we have been cutting through hazy ethical and moral questions. There is but one God, and he is Christ our Lord. In Q144, we were also told 80% covert, 20% public. In Q3348, we remember just the other day, Japan public, China non-public, South Korea non-public. Are we on the verge of public action? Is this why POTUS is in Japan, while Chinese and South Korean actions are covert? Now here next we have a picture of FLOTUS, Melania Trump, debarking an airplane, and she is wearing a dress, I said, with a single flag on it. I only saw the one flag. Perhaps someone else had mentioned that they saw multiple flags. But also from 144, higher the risk. It was actually higher the altitude, higher the risk. And a red flag specifically means taking action against people in power. So it could also mean rough conditions, such as strong surf and or currents are present. All swimmers are discouraged from entering the water, and those entering the water take great care. Well, clearly, there is something going on right now, right here. Taking action, symbol of a revolution, taking action against people in power. Now, at 8:54 a.m., President Donald Trump tweeted a 1-minute, 4-second video. When it shows up here, it only shows 1:03, but we're going to pull it up so you can see that it's actually 1 minute and 4 seconds. And it is a video of Arlington National Cemetery. We remember on this day our beloved sons, daughters, sisters, and brothers, spouses, friends, and neighbors, patriots who served. If you're like me and you have relatives that are buried at Arlington, then I'm sure that you understand what this means here. The sacrifice. What our loved ones gave up so that we could be free. Join us this Memorial Day as we honor them. Beautiful. Okay, back to the thread. Now, from post 104, now is the time to pray. We're operational. God bless the United States of America. 1 minute, 4 seconds, post 104, we're operational. At 10:33 a.m. Eastern Time, President Donald Trump tweeted a 34-second video. Let's take a look at that. The President and the First Lady planting flags at Arlington. From the White House. Now in post 34, Q Clearance Patriot. My fellow Americans, over the course of the next several days, you will undoubtedly realize that we are taking our country back. In post 35, POTUS will be well insulated, protected on Air Force One and abroad, specific locations classified. While these operations are conducted due to the nature of the entrenchment, it is time to take our country back and make America great again. Now, if you'll remember this post that I shared with you several days ago, I believe on Thursday, we have President Trump currently in Japan on Memorial Day on the 27th. He will be in Japan on the 28th as well. But the 29th, 30th, 31st, and 1st, there is no itinerary for his schedule. We don't know where he will be or what he will be doing, but it is assumed that he will be abroad because he's traveling from Japan to the UK. And of course, again, from post 35, POTUS will be well insulated and protected on Air Force One and abroad. Is this why real Donald Trump chose to travel to a foreign enemy, to a former enemy territory on Memorial Day? Pray for POTUS. Pray for our country. Is it happening? Grab your popcorn. Happy Memorial Day. Here's some additional information. Now, this is a tweet from the White House with President Trump and Japanese Prime Minister Abe Shinzo meeting for a bilateral meeting at Akasaka Palace. Now, this room that they're photographed in is called Asahi no Ma. Let's take a look at that room. The name of this room, the Salon of the Morning Sun, derives from the painting on the ceiling of Aurora, Roman goddess of the dawn, who renews herself every morning and flies across the sky announcing the arrival of the sun. Morning sun brings heat. Do you guys remember that? Well, that's from post 1543. Morning sun brings heat, full moon coming, undiscovered stars learned, missions forward. Is this it, guys? Are we finally at a point where we are going to see something 20% public, 80% private? Well, I would say that over the next several days, this is definitely something that I'm going to be wanting to keep an eye on, and I suggest you guys too. Give me your thoughts in the comments below. Now, last bit. At 2:08 p.m., President Trump tweeted out regarding the crime bill. Anyone associated with the 1994 crime bill will not have a chance of being elected. In particular, African Americans will not be able to vote for you, but there's a missing A. Tweet was at 2:08. The tweet we'll go over later in the program regarding the super predator statement was posted at 2:16. That is an 8-minute delta right there. 8-minute delta. In post 128, operators active. Note the A in brackets. And we have this right here in post 570. Hussein, 8. HRC, 8. Now, I think that also means 8 years, actual and expected. However, 8-minute delta with a active missing A has an operator just being activated. And is it really happening? Now, yesterday we had user ID C77223 posting on 8chan. We all know, of course, that the president is in Japan right now. And we can see here, it looks like it's inside of a Japanese restaurant. And then right here, it looks like perhaps Marine One. This here looks to be an American flag origami crane. And then this here was an embed of a video that would be, I would assume, would be the liftoff taken from inside Marine One. Now, what this means to me is that this is a Secret Service that are posting on the boards. And let's go ahead and take a look at these pictures in a little closer detail. All right, so here, this is actually, I'm sorry, not Marine One. It looks like it is a Japanese helicopter, but specifically reserved for the president, you can imagine. Here is the inside of that restaurant right there. Here is that beautiful origami crane. And here is the video from inside that helicopter. Only 1 second long, but you can tell that these pictures are all meant to be grouped together because they're by the same poster. And due to the timestamps on when they were taken, it's fair to assume that this video right here was taken from inside that exact same helicopter that we saw in the photo from outside of it. So, Secret Service posting on 8chan. Pretty cool. Now next, President Trump is lashing out at Hillary Clinton, giving her a body check, as well as Joe Biden, talking about the term super predator. That was the term associated with the 1994 crime bill that Sleepy Joe Biden was so heavily involved in passing. That was a dark period in American history, but has Sleepy Joe apologized? No. And my friend Methods posts the actual video here. Let's go ahead and take a listen to Hillary Clinton laying it out.
We have finally gotten more police officers on the street. That was one of the goals that the president had when he pushed the crime bill that was passed in 1994. He promised 100,000 police. We're moving in that direction, but we can see it already makes a difference. Because if we have more police interacting with people, having them on the streets, we can prevent crimes. We can prevent petty crimes from turning into something worse. But we also have to have an organized effort against gangs. Just as in a previous generation we had an organized effort against the mob. We need to take these people on. They are often connected to big drug cartels. They are not just gangs of kids anymore. They are often the kinds of kids that are called super predators. No conscience, no empathy. We can talk about why they ended up that way, but first we have to bring them to heel. And
bring them to heel. Remember that infamous comment from Hillary Clinton, bring the super predators to heel, these gangs of kids. Well, she said it. We didn't. Now, who's going to talk about it? Now, I've spoken many times on the program before about how the fact that Donald Trump is allowing these things to take place, the investigations, all of the witch hunts going against him, it's because I think they are setting a precedent. They are allowing for these things to happen so that when it happens to Democrats, people are going to be desensitized to it. And they're going to say, like, you know, okay, all right, well, I guess that's all right. They did it to Donald Trump. They did it to his family. They did it to everyone associated with him. So now it's only fair that we do it to the Democrats. Let's listen to Sarah Carter speaking about this very subject.
Let's just put everything out on the line, put all the cards on the table. Let's investigate the Democrats, too. If they want to investigate President Trump, let's not just stop with them, Steve. Let's not just stop with them. Let's investigate their families, their children, their connections. How did they handle money? Did they meet people while they were in office? How is it possible that people like Maxine Waters come into office with a relatively normal bank account and leave with millions of dollars? Or Nancy Pelosi and her business dealings with her husband. So let's just put the cards out on the table. They want to investigate Trump. Let's investigate every single one of them and their children and any family members that live with them and any business dealings that they have overseas.
Like I said, it's only fair. We've allowed it to happen to Donald Trump, his family, and all of his associates. Why don't we take a look at the financial information from Maxine Waters' bank accounts? How did she become a multimillionaire on a humble public servant's salary? I think that would be a very easy and interesting investigation. Let's see how this one is going to play out. Now, since we were speaking about the possibility of arrests taking place, I wanted to head on over to my friend Resignation Anon's website. He's the researcher that came up with the search tool that I had shown you previously, and also the Resignation Show, which he puts on weekly, going over notable resignations for the week. I know that I mentioned it previously, but I was just on the show with a panel of guests this past Saturday, May 26th. So if you guys want to check that out, by all means, check out Resignation Anon on Twitter or check out his show on YouTube. You can find links to the shows on his Twitter account. But the reason we're on the website is because there is a master list of indictments on there. We are currently up to somewhere around 97,000 sealed indictments. With actually total, that was for since Donald Trump took office, there has actually been 9,865 unsealed, which takes us to a grand total of right around 87,000 sealed indictments. That is a lot. For a historical period in 2006, we're talking generally there's about 24,375. Over an 18-month period, 36,563. So that's quite a bit of growth, quite a bit, a triple-digit percentage growth over what you would normally expect to find. There's a lot of good researchers that are looking into this on a daily basis and putting all of this information together. If you want to check out this information for yourself, you can see many different types of breakdowns and exactly what they are for. You can see it by state. You can see it by month. Major breakdowns. You can head on over to resignation.info and look at the indictments tab. Now next, they said it couldn't be done, but Brian Kolfage of We Build the Wall has now completed the first half mile of border wall in only 4 days from private donations. Here in this image, you can see these big loaders are dropping these pieces of wall into place, and the cartel is going to have a lot of trouble getting over those walls. For months, the liberal media has mocked We Build the Wall founder and organizer Brian Kolfage and his plan to use private donations to help build the much-needed security wall between the U.S. and Mexico. Brian raised over $20 million in private donations from over 260,000 individuals to build a border wall on the U.S. southern border. In January, Brian announced the We Build the Wall leadership board that includes Eric Prince, Chris Kobach, Angel Mom Marianne Mendoza, Sheriff David Clark, and former Representative Tom Tancredo, among others. The We Build the Wall team held several rallies this spring to continue fundraising for the project, and this Memorial Day weekend, the We Build the Wall organization built their first half mile of border wall near El Paso, Texas. Let's go ahead and take a look at these guys in action. couldn't be done, and they did it. The Gateway pundit spoke with Brian Kolfage on Sunday, and Brian told us at the beginning, everyone said, you can't do this. It's impossible. You just can't do this. And I think that just drove us forward even harder to get the project done. That's what this country is all about, coming together and pooling our resources and getting the job done in a time of crisis. And we are in a crisis. Brian, a war veteran and triple amputee, added, "We wanted to prove to the American people that in a time of need, we can come together like we used to and get things done that are big. And I think we're at a time where we realize that our government and politicians are not representing the people." Brian told us about organizing this project. "We threw like 15 people together, and we just built an international border wall. So I think this sticks the thumb in everyone's eye who said we couldn't do it. They said nasty things about me, about my family, and that we were scammers. We proved them wrong. And this is just the first segment. From start to finish, from the time we found the property to the time we built the wall, was just 57 days. 57 days. We got a contractor, we got a plan, and we implemented it over the weekend, and we got this wall built." Brian and former Kansas State Secretary of State Chris Kobach are on the border this weekend as this section of the wall goes up. Let's go ahead and take a look at this clip from Chris Kobach.
Here we are, morning of day 2 on project number 1 of We Build the Wall, Sunland Park, New Mexico. Yesterday, we completed the first section. This was done relatively late at night. Started putting the pieces in place at 5 p.m. Concrete came in at about 8 or 9 p.m. and then it hardened within 2 hours. Now we're morning of day 2. If you look here, you've got the rigs of Fisher Industries coming in. They're basically modified giant track hose, and they've got his patented holder bringing each section of wall up. Each section is 5 8-foot panels, so that's 40 foot per section. This pour, this we call it a pour because you put them all in place. The rigs hold them in place. This pour, I believe, is going to involve 6 rigs, so it'll be 240 foot of wall put in, basically in one session here. So they're coming slowly up the incline here, and they're gonna put them in place right here, the next section up from where we are. And this is all a moderate grade, but of course it was too much grade for the Army Corps of Engineers to do. They said you couldn't build anywhere on this site because it's too much mountain. And that's what it used to look like. Look at the Mexican side there. There were mountains like that right here where I'm standing, but Tommy's rigs came in and made some piles of rocks. And we're using those rocks to grade things and make a much more aesthetic.
Is that a cartel path right there?
Okay, no, the cartel paths are up even higher. So our wall is going to go up 350 feet, all the way up to where the very steep gray rock is up there. The cartel paths there's 3 of them, and they're up in the sort of reddish rock and then the lower tier of the gray rock, and they're very well worn. If you weren't so high up in the mountain, your grandmother could walk on them without tripping. There's no rocks in the paths. There's so much foot traffic on those. Those are the drug smuggling paths. So they smuggle the people down here in the valley. On the very flat, they pull up in the parking lot right there where their car is coming in. That's the Mexican side. They unload their human cargo there. The people take 5 steps and they're in the United States of America. They can either hop into a car or just keep on walking. All of that comes to an end with We Build the Wall. So there you have it. Day 2 off to a great start. If all goes well, we may get 1,000 feet of wall put in today, a Saturday. We work on weekends at We Build the Wall.
The Gateway pundit asked Brian what he would say to President Trump. Brian told us it's not his fault the wall is not being built. It's Congress who is at fault. Congress says they are on Trump's team, but they don't get the things done. We had our team, and we got it done. Chris Kobach was also proud to share with us the good news. There were a lot of doubters out there who just could not conceive that a private group was building a border wall. They said harsh things about We Build the Wall, and we proved them wrong. It is just really, really satisfying. The section of the wall We Build the Wall focused on closes a half-mile gap that existed for years between the end of El Paso, Texas border wall, and Mount Cristo Rey. The gap is across from the Mexican city of Juarez. Currently, the El Paso sector is the second busiest sector in terms of family apprehensions and unaccompanied minors this fiscal year. Those categories now make up the majority of border wall apprehensions. Kobach explained the current wall ends abruptly, and then there's a gap for about a half mile between the end of that wall and Mount Cristo Rey in New Mexico. Mount Cristo Rey sits on the west side of El Paso. Chris said the gap is a half-mile wide corridor, and it's literally a parking lot on the Mexican side, and then you walk 5 steps and you are in the parking lot on the American side. There's no barbed wire. There is not any barrier. You just walk from one parking lot to another. In the past, groups of over 100 in size on a typical evening would often come through this particular corridor, and when the Border Patrol is dealing with all the people down at the bottom of the gap in the flat area, the cartels would be sending drugs up on the side of the mountain with no border control interference at all. The We Build the Wall organization focused on this major gap in American security. They closed the gap that allowed the two illegal flows, the flow of illegal aliens at the bottom and the flow of drugs halfway up to the mountain. Chris told us the Army Corps of Engineers said it was impossible to build the wall here. They looked at the incline that climbs 300 feet over the course of this half mile, and they said it can't be built. But we proved them wrong. Congratulations to Brian Kolfage, Chris Kobach, and the entire We Build the Wall team. And congratulations to everyone. Congratulations to America. These people have produced an remarkable set of engineering designs, putting this together and allowing for us to become safer across this great nation. What really makes me proud is that they did it in an area where the Army Corps of Engineers said they wouldn't be able to. I was wondering how they weren't going to get in the way of the Army Corps of Engineers, and this is a very, very sensible plan. Do it in the spots where the Army Corps wasn't going to be doing it anyways. Very proud of these guys, very proud to see that they came through and that they did what many people said was impossible. Yet another thing to celebrate this Memorial Day. All right, now an exclusive from the Gateway Pundit. The FBI actually obtained the bogus Trump-Russia Alpha Bank FISA warrant after they learned the entire story was a lie. Can you believe it? I am feigning shock right now. The former administration's deep state FBI obtained a FISA warrant to spy on Trump Tower based on information that the Russian Alpha Bank was interacting with candidate Trump. However, we now know the corrupt FBI knew the entire story was a lie, and yet they withheld this information from the court. As we reported in April 2019, the Alpha Bank hoax all started in June 2016. After news broke that the Democratic National Committee had been hacked, a group of prominent computer scientists went on the attack. The group of individuals, led by a Hillary supporter whom the Obama administration had provided a grant, started snooping around Trump Tower computers to allegedly see if these servers had also been hacked. This group was led by Indiana University professor and staunch Hillary supporter Gene Camp. Professor Camp, according to Circa, was a staunch HRC supporter. A respected computer scientist who raised concerns about a possible connection between President Trump and a Russian bank is an unabashed HRC supporter who made multiple small donations to the Democrats' presidential campaign around the time that she and her colleagues surfaced the allegations. Professor Camp also received a multi-million-dollar grant from the former administration in 2012. According to the New York Times, on October 31st, 2016, computer logs showed that 2 servers at Alpha Bank sent more than 2,700 lookup messages to the Trump servers. At about the same time, the FBI received a complaint from cyber experts about a possible Trump Alpha Bank connection, which led the FBI to investigate into a Trump Alpha Bank connection, according to the New York Times. In classified sessions in August and September of 2016, intelligence officials also briefed congressional leaders on the possibility of financial ties between Russians and people connected to Mr. Trump. They focused particular attention on what cyber experts said appeared to be a mysterious computer back channel between the Trump Organization and Alpha Bank, which is one of Russia's biggest banks and whose owners have long-standing ties to Mr. Putin. At this same time, Christopher Steele was in full force pushing the now-debunked claim that Trump was connected to Alpha Bank. In mid-September, Steele submitted his memos, and at least one of these included the Trump Alpha Bank connection. Steele submitted those memos to the press and to the FBI. And now we know that Fusion GPS was pushing this bogus story to far-left Slate magazine, who has now gone defunct. Now, we can see right here from Nick Short, Fusion GPS was behind this now discredited Slate story about a special email server existing between Trump Tower and Moscow's Alpha Bank. Here's Hillary Clinton tweeting about the story the day it appeared. Remember that? And of course, Hillary Clinton pushed the conspiracy, knowing that her team was behind the bogus allegations. Statement from Jake Sullivan, a new report exposing Trump's secret line of communication with Russia. From Hillary right here. We know that the FBI sought and received a FISA warrant related to the Russia-linked bank, using the Steele dossier as evidence. This is the only plausible piece of evidence that the FBI could have used. As McCabe said, the FISA warrants would not have been granted without the Steele dossier. The far-left New York Times then reported law enforcement officials say that none of the investigations so far have found any conclusive or direct link between Mr. Trump and the Russian government. And even the hacking into Democratic emails, FBI and intelligence officials now believe, was aimed at disrupting the presidential election rather than electing Mr. Trump. The reason the FBI wasn't able to find anything was because the claims were based entirely on DNS logs, digital records of when one server looks up how to contact another across the internet. A forensic examination conducted by Alpha Bank of the Alpha Bank computer revealed that the only communications that took place regarding Trump were those logged requests coming from outside its servers, noted by the New York Times above. No other communications were found as indicated in the forensic report related to the subject. Alpha Bank blamed Gene Camp and Associates for artificially setting up a false Trump Alpha Bank narrative and threatened a lawsuit. In May of this year, the bank tapped Kirkland & Ellis, a white shoe American law firm, to write a letter to L. Gene Camp, an esteemed Indiana University computer scientist and researcher, and a vocal supporter of the claims made by Tea Leaves. They are suing because it is bogus. Alpha Bank contacted Professor Camp and demanded she hand over her emails related to the Trump Alpha Bank connection, but she wouldn't. The bank's position is that the professor is an employee of a public university, but still Camp's attorneys have refused to comply. Alpha would like to know who all was involved in her sending requests to the banks and Trump servers, and with reporting the incident as a fact that Trump and Alpha Bank had a secret back channel to each other. In March of 2017, FBI head Comey confirmed there was no connection between Trump and Alpha Bank, but Comey wasn't telling the entire truth. We now know that Comey knew that the Trump Tower was not exchanging information with Alpha Bank before the FISA warrant was even requested. As John Solomon from The Hill reported on May 21st, multiple sources confirmed to me that the attachment that Deputy Assistant Secretary of State Kathleen Kvelic sent to then FBI Section Chief Stephen Laycock on October 13, 2016, was a summary from Steele's company alleging Trump and Russia might be communicating through a computer server at Russia's Alpha Bank. This long-debunked allegation has floated around Washington since the summer of 2016, compliments of Hillary Clinton backers ranging from a university computer science professor who spread it across the internet to a lawyer for Clinton's campaign who delivered it to the FBI in the summer of 2016. The theory, worthy of a spy novel, was that a series of data pings between a computer in Trump Tower and Alpha Bank in Moscow was actually a secret beacon alerting the Putin and Trump teams that it was time to talk about colluding on hijacking the American presidential election. All false. I first heard about the allegations in late September 2016, and by the first week of October I reached multiple U.S. officials, including one inside the FBI, who told me the allegation had been investigated and the pings were determined to be innocuous contacts, most likely related to errant spam emails. Alpha Bank hired 2 experts who reached similar conclusions. Solomon then notes that the FISA warrant that the FBI requested on October 21, 2016, was a fraud based on this and additional information that the State Department had provided the FBI. What Solomon neglected to note is that the FBI requested a FISA warrant to spy on Trump Tower based on this bogus information, and based on the timing provided by Solomon, the FBI knew their warrant was a fraud. We now know that the FBI had information that 2 of its warrants to spy on Trump before the 2016 election were fraudulent, and yet the FBI requested the warrants anyways, because they never thought she would lose. They thought that they could act with impunity and do whatever they wanted, anything illegal, anything at all, to stop Trump from becoming president. Well, guess what, guys? Now the president is President Trump, and President Trump is going to act on this information, courtesy of William Barr. Now, it looks like we've got really good news in Italy. We've got lots of nationalist wins. We've got Salvini in Italy, Le Pen in France, Farage in the UK, Tarczynski in Poland. They have all smashed globalist elites in EU elections. Nationalist Matteo Salvini's ENF party was the number one party in the EU elections in Italy. Marine Le Pen's ENF party was the number one party in France in EU elections, and Nigel Farage and his 6-week-old Brexit party crushed the competition in Great Britain. Let's take a look at this real quick.
So we are starting to get some results in from a bit of the black sheep of this election, it has to be said, the late entrant, the UK, that didn't even know it was going to be taking part until just a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, and the situation in the United Kingdom is very much along the lines of what we were expecting from the opinion polls in the run-up to the vote itself. The Brexit Party dominating massively. We're seeing scores in some areas, not in the regions, but in some areas of over 50% in favour of the Brexit Party. That is likely to translate across the country into extremely big wins. We're seeing the Conservative Party falling to an all-time low of 10% in these elections, it would seem, according to some early polls. And that's the party of government, of course, the Conservative Party falling to 10%. What we're seeing in the northeast of the country, Labour heartland, Labour is shedding votes too in favour of the Brexit Party. The northeast seeing 2 of its MEPs being from the Brexit Party, 1 from Labour. That's a reverse from the situation of 2014. The east of the country, Brexit again, the Brexit Party again consolidating its victories there. 3 MEPs from the east of the country, 2 for the Lib Dems, 1 for the Greens and 1 for the Conservative Party. What's interesting there is that the Brexit Party is consolidating its popularity, but it's the anti-Brexit parties in the east of the country that are also scoring a total of 3 MEPs there. So there is a degree of, if you will, a fight back from the anti-Brexit movements, and questions are likely to have to be asked about why those anti-Brexit movements couldn't unify if they're going to have the same voter share as the Brexit Party. I see.
This is great news for nationalist parties across the globe, guys, fighting back against the globalists. Absolutely love to see this. People are taking the power of sovereignty back from places like the EU, places like these globalist power mongers that we see coming out of Brussels. These people are freaking out. The traditional parties in these areas are probably very much on edge today. Great job to Nigel Farage. I would love to see Nigel Farage as Prime Minister of England, and I think that may be something that's going to be coming up. Finally, guys, Lindsey Graham says that Nancy Pelosi's job is very much at risk. She is riding a bucking wild bronco called the Democratic Caucus. 70% of the Democratic base wants President Trump impeached. She knows that impeachment would be political suicide because there's no reason to impeach the president, so she's trying to keep the party intact. If she goes down the impeachment road, Republicans take back the House, we keep the Senate, President Trump gets reelected. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has been beating the impeachment drum lately because she is being pressured by members of her Democrat caucus to remove President Trump from office. Just hours after her dust-up with President Trump at the White House last Wednesday morning, Pelosi told a liberal conference in D.C. that Trump may have committed an impeachable offense by obstructing justice and engaging in a cover-up. Pelosi, who previously shied away from impeachment talk, stoked the flames last week with her inflammatory rhetoric. As they say, the cover-up is frequently worse than the crime, Pelosi said, citing one of the impeachment articles against President Nixon. But by Thursday evening, Pelosi backed down from impeachment, saying, "We're not at that place." Now, this is after President Trump, of course, ripped into her. Pelosi closed the House and sent home lawmakers Thursday evening for a 10-day Memorial Day recess and quelled calls to remove Trump from the White House. Per the usual, the senator has absolutely no idea what he's talking about. This is a quote from Pelosi's spokesperson, Drew Hamill. I'd have to disagree, so let's go ahead and take a listen to what Lindsey Graham had to say on Fox News Sunday.
Started all this, Nancy Pelosi is riding a bucking wild bronco called the Democratic Caucus. 70% of the Democratic base throughout America wants President Trump impeached. She knows that impeachment would be political suicide because there's no reason to impeach the president. So she's trying to keep the party intact. If she goes down the impeachment road, Republicans take back the House, we keep the Senate, President Trump gets reelected, but her job is very much at risk.
So good luck on your impeachment crusade, Nancy Pelosi. Like Lindsey Graham said, I think that means that we take it all and President Trump gets reelected. And there's nothing better than watching an enemy destroy itself. All right, folks, that's all I have for you today. Once again, happy Memorial Day. Thank you to everyone who has served. Hug a veteran, and I hope that everyone has a wonderful evening. As always, this has been Red Pill 78. I am the corruption detector, and this was your Red Pill News. Good luck, everyone, and God bless.